when I lost beaming and I had to walk away from it. It was more tragic than the divorce.
Now a force in the world of wellness, Lisa Odenweller's rise, it didn't start in a boardroom, but in a doctor's office.
We have to take health into our own hands. And then we really need to be the CEO of our health.
It's the holistic health brand backed by stars like Gwyneth Paltrow, Amy Schumer, and it's causing a stir for its superfood approach to modern wellness.
I did a lot of things right, created an amazing concept, changed millions of people's lives. Where I did the mistakes, I was naive.
What was the point where you realized that you had a lack of self-love, and how did that show up?
I understood in my personal that I married a man who couldn't love me because I didn't love me. That same little girl who didn't know how to love herself and be loved also didn't know how to stand up for herself in business, didn't understand her worth in business. So when the board was bullying me, I didn't have enough of my own self-worth to stand up for myself.
So what worked for you on your journey to self-love?
At the end of the day, we all have to be responsible for the choices we make, whether it's the partner we chose, whether it's the business partner we chose, whatever it is, it's on us. Things are going to happen, bad people are going to show up. It's how I deal with it that matters. I know my value when I walk into a room. I don't have to apologize for my vision. And as women, we can get swept up in feeling like we have to show up for everything fully. And when we do that, we actually don't show up well for anything. If your children matter to you, if health and wellness matter to you, then make that time. We have time for what we make time for.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
Welcome to All Over Again podcast.
Thank you. I'm so glad to finally be here.
I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, thank you.
So Lisa Odenweller is first and foremost a mother. She is a serial entrepreneur and is the founder and creator behind Kroma Wellness. So Lisa, I'd love to hear just how would you describe yourself in 3 adjectives?
Very intuitive, very tenacious, and very alive. I think the word that was also coming to mind was beaming, but very alive, just energetic.
Beaming. You had a company called Beaming at one point, right?
Beaming. That's how much I like that word, yeah.
But it's a beautiful word.
Yeah, it's a
and
powerful
people don't
word.
use that enough.
It's a very powerful word. I mean, for me, the association of that word is the energy you give out is what you get back. And really that essence where you know when someone's beaming, right? It's a magnetic energy, which is just like, you can feel it in a room. And there's an exchange that happens between when you see someone beaming, the whole room beams. And it's funny, today I was in dance class at Forward Space, and the energy there is always so great. And one of my favorite things to do is go to class there when I'm in town. And there's a couple girls in front of me and they were beaming. And apparently I was beaming too, because we were all feeding off of each other. And at the end of class, unbeknownst to one another, we came up to each other and we're like, your energy was so great. And we were feeding that energy. And we had this saying with my brand, Beaming, which was that the world is brighter when you're beaming. And it was just this overall, like the energy of that is this contagious energy.
So there's a story behind Beaming and Kroma and how you moved from Beaming to Kroma.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear how that happened.
So when I founded Beaming, I was going through divorce. I launched it in 2011. I was creating it in 2008, 2009, knowing that my divorce was imminent. Going through divorce, had no money, but had this huge vision of how to help people really understand how much control they have over their health just by being more mindful about what they eat and drink. As I had gone through my own health and hormone challenges and challenges with my daughter on ADD medication and all sorts of things that were sort of the catalyst to starting Beaming, it was such a profound time for me to bring this concept to life because no one had done it yet. I was bringing superfoods and adaptogens and ingredients to the world in a way that not only had people not heard of maca and spirulina and mushrooms, which this is only going back to 2009, 2010. So it's not that long ago. But I was bringing it in a way that was very culinary forward. And I launched the first superfood cafe in the country called Beaming. Launched it in Del Mar, California, tucked behind McDonald's in a little strip mall. Everyone thought I was crazy. And introduced these really incredible acai bowls and smoothies and packet salads and a culinary cleanse at the time when everybody was doing juice fasting. because I thought juice cleansing was the stupidest thing ever. And I still do. And thank God, I think we're past that. But I was all about eating food and nourishing your body. And how do you feel when you put good food in your body? And so from that lens, like created at the time, probably the most successful concept in the country as a single mom going through divorce with 3 little kids and no money. We can come back to that in that time, and then created this incredible brand that grew to 10 locations in Southern California, did all the things and did all the things right and all the things wrong in the sense of I had never built a business at that scale and unfortunately had to walk away from it. And from there led me to doing the deep work on myself, understanding how did I get here? How do I never get here again? What you have to walk away from a business you love so much that was transforming so many lives. It was such a piece of me. I can think of Beaming as like it was another child for me, and I had to walk away from it. And I had to really go deep in understanding what happened, and if I was going to create again, how would I create from a whole different lens and a whole different viewpoint? So I know I covered a lot in that, but just from the transition of Beaming to Kroma, there was a lot there.
So before we talk about Kroma, why did you walk away from Beaming?
Because I had, like I said, I did a lot of things right, created an amazing concept, changed millions of people's lives, really, I think in many ways kind of helped lead the movement in making healthy taste amazing and really helping people understand the power of food. And did it in a way that nobody had done. And for those familiar with Erewhon or any of these kind of specialty markets, they didn't exist at the time. So it was a very, very innovative time for me to do what I did. Where I did the mistakes is I was naive. And the beauty of naivety is you just create out of passion and just anything's possible. The challenge with that, and given where I was at that time, is that I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know how to set it up legally, properly, protecting myself. I didn't understand the power of a board. And ultimately the board took control of the company, and I didn't understand who is on your board if you have to have one and the significance of those decisions. I didn't have the self-worth that I have now, where I didn't stand up for myself as I was being bullied, and eventually got pushed out. And eventually they crashed the company. And so here was this incredible brand that people were obsessed with, and still people stop me to talk about it because it was such a special brand. And what we had done was so incredible, but I had partnered with the wrong people. And I didn't have that self-worth that understood how to push back and how to really self-advocate.
So in retrospect, how do you determine who the right people are and who the wrong people are? You mentioned intuition. Is that part of it?
Yes. I mean, I think intuition is such a key for anyone in life and not to be neglected in business especially. I think at the time, I was so overwhelmed and so excited at the same time. I was overwhelmed because I was going through divorce and had no money and had employees living in my children's room because I couldn't afford to pay them. I mean, it is like the diary of a startup, of this single mom with 3 kids kind of thing. And so as people were giving me money with the contingency that I'll give you $1 million if you let me have a seat on the board or whatever the exchange was, that seemed like a good exchange because I didn't know better. I didn't understand what a board does, let alone the power of what a board can do and how important it is that you surround yourself with people who really understand you and your vision, support you in your vision, and are going to be with you not through just the good times, but through the shit, because that's inevitable. And that's actually who you need is like who's going to help you when things go sideways, because it's 100% chance that it's going to go sideways probably multiple times. So I think for me, I don't even know that my intuition was awake enough to understand that those decisions. I just was excited to have people want to give me money and support the business. So I think it's a very difficult decision as a founder, entrepreneur, because one, if you don't have to have a board, don't. If you do have to have a board, be very thoughtful about who you put on your board, because the stories that we hear and that we see of these incredible entrepreneurs, especially female entrepreneurs, and there is a difference, who get kicked out of their companies, it's usually board related.
Interesting. So looking back, what's a red flag?
On people you put on the board?
Correct, yeah.
Oh, goodness. That's where you use your intuition.
Okay.
That's where you use your intuition. I think in even establishing the board for my new company, one of the key things is you make sure you have a really good lawyer, and you make sure that you have really good ownership of the business, so that if things do go sideways and it's not working out with a board member, you have the authority to make those changes and
Did
not
you
get
not
sick.
before?
Not with Beaming, I did not.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. I just didn't have I didn't have the right lawyer protecting me. And of course, and the naivety and all the things. Yeah, but this time around, those board members can either make or break a business. It's such an important decision for anyone that has to have a board. I can't stress it enough. And I'm in a transition with my board right now. And it's not only just who you have on there, making sure that you guys are truly a team, but it will evolve over time in the expertise and skill that you need based on where the business is at. So
It's like a business, right? I mean, it's not employees, but they're partners of sorts.
They're partners of sorts. They have a say. If you have a really strong board, they are potentially game changing. They could be helping raise money. They're helping you navigate challenges. They're helping you with potential business partnerships. Like when you think about, so for anyone listening that thinks that they need a board or has a board, the people you choose is potentially the difference of your company soaring or not. And while you're the most important part, like who you surround yourself with is so critical. And those board members, if you really wanted to get into it, and this is where I'm at right now, is it's literally like a research. Like you think about, what do you need? What's missing in the business? What's the expertise that you need that you don't have, that the team doesn't have, that the next phase of the business needs? And you go find the best people for that. Ideally, you do that not cold, where you actually know people who know them, and you can do a lot of dating, if you will, before you make those assignments. It's a very significant decision.
I'm sure that's hard too, right?
Yeah,
because
very
sometimes
much
you think you know someone. I mean, you were married. I'm sure you thought you knew this person.
That's right. Yeah.
You're going through this beautiful time. You're starting this new company at the time, Beaming, and you're going through a divorce. So you're literally beginning again. Is that kind of is that uplifting you during the divorce phase? Like how do you have this like really hard and this really good? I mean, I know two things can be true at once, but like, what did that feel like?
I'm very good at being in the chaos of life and compartmentalizing and focusing on what needs attention or where I want to focus attention. So by that, I mean, amidst the divorce, and it was a very amicable divorce, so I didn't have that. I didn't have any money, so that was very stressful. And I had 3 little kids. There was that of just like, how do I do this? And the grieving of the loss of a marriage, whether it's by choice or not, it's still a massive loss to your family unit has now fallen apart. And even though that was the right decision, it's very painful. So trying to give time and attention to that while I'm also building this business and risking everything to do it. But there was also the thrill of that. And I think that's an important thing, is because that's my personality. I love the game of entrepreneurship. I love the unknown and the unpredictability, the challenge, the uncertainty. Like I am a bit crazy in that way. You have to be an entrepreneur. And then it was also unraveling.
Not crazy. I think just a person who beams.
So I think you have to have in that particular case, you have to have such a conviction for your why. Why am I doing this? What is it? What impact do I want to make in the world? And that has to be bigger than all the reasons why you shouldn't do it. And that's what drove me. I had such a huge why. I was so passionate about food as medicine, so passionate about the impact I felt like I was being called to do in the world, that there was no way I couldn't do it. So that, during a time of grieving, gave me the strength to really create this incredible business and really start my career in wellness. It also was a great distraction, but it was not for the faint of heart. I mean, to carry 2 things at once, as you said, like the grieving of loss of your family and as you knew it, taking care of 3 little kids, not having any money, trying to build this big thing. And I don't know how to do small. Like I could have just done a cute little thing at the farmer's market. That's not how I think. That's not how I do things. So I also took on this massive thing with massive risk. Like I could have gotten a job where you had a paycheck that was predictable, not the path I chose. And for me, that worked. Do I think I made my life a lot harder? Absolutely. I don't think though, and I know so much you ask the question of like, what would you do over again? I don't think I would have done that over again. I think that what I did was exactly who I am. What I would have done over again is I would have wished, and I don't even know if we can do this, honestly, as these words come out of my mouth. I would have wished that I had had a better, like more self-love for myself, that I had believed in me more. I had a facade of confidence that wasn't true on the inside. And there was so much that I needed to heal to become who I am now that I didn't even understand. So the blind spots of that ultimately cost me my company. But I think that's the piece that the going really fast also, and this is true for a lot of us, so it's an important one to hear this. When we're so distracted all the time, we have to check in with ourselves to make sure we're not distracting ourselves from doing the work that we need to do. And I was constantly living in these different worlds.
What was the point where you realized that you had a lack of self-love, and how did that show up in your business and your personal life?
I think what's really important is to understand that they're not mutually exclusive, business and personal. That was my big aha. I understood in my personal that I married a man who couldn't love me because I didn't love me. So when you get divorced, you do a lot of introspection. When you're going through, and divorces don't happen instantly, typically. Usually they're a deterioration over time. So over that time, as I'm looking at this very loveless marriage, not a bad person, I wasn't a bad person, we didn't know how to love together. I didn't know how to receive love. He didn't know how to give it. The two of us were a total mismatch, but maybe perhaps the perfect match for the work that we both needed to do. I think that where I didn't understand is that same little girl who didn't know how to love herself and be loved also didn't know how to stand up for herself in business, didn't understand her worth in business. So when the board was bullying me at Beaming, when people wanted to overstep my vision or tell me that my vision was wrong, I didn't have enough of my own self-worth to stand up for myself.
First of all, what I'm hearing with you and your husband in an interesting way is almost like you were both meant to be together.
You could say we called each other in.
To do
Totally.
the work together, right?
Yeah.
Like it sounds like you both needed to do the work. However, when you're thinking about doing that work and going back in time, was there something that you needed to address from your childhood?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
And so when I lost Beaming and I had to walk away from it, and it was tragic. It was more tragic than the divorce. You know, like I said, you go through a period of how did I get here? How do I never get here again? Especially if I'm going to create again, because I don't want this outcome. You know, financially, it absolutely derailed me again, right? So there was that pressure and stress too. But there was that, I'm very introspective anyway. And so for me, there was that I need to go understand what happened. And it was more than just, you opened too many cafes at this, we had 10 cafes. Maybe that was part of the problem. Maybe we grew too fast. You should have had a better operator. There's always things you could do better in the business. To me, I was intuitive enough to know that that me having to walk away from the brand that I loved was a me thing. Yes, the board bullied me, all those things, but I allowed that. So for me, it was having the accountability to understand what happened there was my fault. What happened there was I needed to go understand the little girl that didn't know how to speak up for herself. And I went to Hoffman. I did all the things. I mean, I did psychedelic journeys, journaling. I've always been that way, but I went deep, deep into that real, how do I heal this? And going back to my point before, that personal and business is one and the same. So if you have not healed those things, it will show up in business. It'll show up in how you lead. It'll show up in how you interact with your team. It'll show up in the confidence in how you show up for the business, in the decisions you make, your confidence in your own decision-making skills, your ability to really lead with that confidence. When vultures come in, and they will, how you stand up to that, how you say no, all of those things will rear their heads and test you as an entrepreneur just as they will in your personal life. And I think that's an important thing because I didn't look at the two. And all of a sudden I had this shining light. I was like, wait a second, they're not mutually exclusive. And if I'm going to go find love and find that first, the love for me, I've got to also do that for how I'm going to go show up and recreate in the world, in my business side.
So what worked for you on your journey to self-love? Like, what were the actual methodologies that worked for you in self-love? And how did that help you learn to self-advocate?
Two parts. In the personal side, probably multiple relationships after that, whether they were short-lived, long-lived, like who I was choosing, what I was learning in those different relationships, those become teachers, right? Like every relationship interaction becomes a teacher. So I think there was patterns that I saw in there that I was like, I don't like this pattern. I don't like who I'm choosing. So in those reflections and through, I mentioned psilocybin journeys, like those are pretty unforgiving for anyone that's done them. The medicine will show you what you need to see, and you can't unsee it. And so there was those patterns that were being shown to me that I was aware of, but not necessarily fully embracing, that allowed me the opportunity to do the healing, the journaling, the processing of how do I reprogram this little girl and love on her in a way that she had never felt. Like, I know this sounds sort of woo-woo-y, but like I had a very challenging childhood. And so for me, you don't just snap your fingers and that goes away. Like, you can't just power your way through, which is what I'd done my whole life. It was, no, we're actually going to have to go and cry, and we're going to have to go give her the love that she needs so that she feels held, because she never did. And the only way a man's going to ever be able to hold you is for you to find that within yourself. At the same time, the only way you're going to be able to show up in business and be confident is if you have done that deep work. Like I said, it's not mutually exclusive. So for me to find my voice, to find my self-worth, to really love me, that translated completely different in how I built Kroma. And I wish I could give you more of the tactical. I think so much of the journey to our own healing it's a personal one. What worked for me doesn't necessarily going to work for someone else. I think the biggest thing is being introspective and intuitive enough to listen to the signs and to not be a victim. And I said earlier that I had to be accountable for the loss of beaming. So yes, all the things and the bad people and the things that happened, those all were true. But at the end of the day, it's you. At the end of the day, we all have to be responsible for the choices we make, whether it's the partner we chose, whether it's the business partner we chose, whether it's whatever it is, it's on us. If we decide to stay in that relationship, that's on us. If we decide to not stand up for ourselves in a business situation, that's on us. And so I think that's where you go inside and you're like, why am I choosing this? Why do I continue to choose this? Why are things not going my way? That's a me thing. That's not the world's out to get me. He was bad. They were wrong. That's a me thing. Things are going to happen. Bad people are going to show up. It's how I deal with it that matters.
So what does self-advocacy look like for you now, both personally and professionally, since they're really intertwined?
100% intertwined. I mean, I know my value when I walk into a room. I don't have to apologize for my vision. Like it.
Were you?
I think I was, because when you are a visionary, when you have an inner knowing, everybody wants to tell you that you're wrong or that maybe you should look at it a different way. And I'm not saying that you don't want other people's inputs, but when you know inside and you're so clear, you can be unapologetic. And I think that's a really important thing. Same with a relationship. I think that if you really know that this person is so good for you, what your friends say and whether they like his hair or his clothes or his laugh or whatever, it doesn't matter, because you get to decide. And how you show up is how everyone else is going to respond. If I show up uncertain in a business meeting, in my relationship, everyone else is going to respond to my energy. It goes back to what we said in the beginning. It's like the energy you give out is the energy you get back. So that is a very influenced loop of how we're showing up in the world and how people are going to respond to us. And so for me, I am unapologetic now for who I am. I have a very different you, having gone through what I've gone through, and you continue to be tested, by the way, along the way, in making sure that I'm standing up for myself, because you're constantly tested at so many points in our life. And are we listening to us? Are we listening to our gut? Are we saying, am I speaking my truth? Is my voice being heard? How do I feel? Does this feel right? I think those constant check-ins and how we are able to self-advocate are key.
I love this vision of self-advocacy as being something that spills over into business, because so often we talk about self-advocacy in terms of wellness and your
True.
personal, right? When you're in the doctor's office and asking the questions and getting the responses. But it's interesting to look at self-advocacy as something in the workplace too. I mean, we talk about it, okay, you're supposed to ask for a salary increase, okay, self-advocate.
Yeah.
But beyond that, we don't talk enough
True.
about this subject. Now that you are where you are and you've done the self-work, are you able to see past people's projections when they are naysaying your vision?
Totally, 100%. I recently separated from I had someone else running my company, a different CEO. And it was very clear that he did not understand my vision. I brought in a CEO because I wanted somebody else to run the everyday of the business so that I could be freed up to do the things that I love to do, the things that I'm best at, where I also felt like I could contribute to the business the most. What I realized was multiple things. One is he wasn't going to care about the business like I do. Two, we were not a team. And the nicest guy in the world, by the way, literally the nicest human in the world, like want to hang out with him anytime. But we were not a team and aligned, and he didn't get me and he didn't get my vision. That was okay because it just wasn't a match. And so we were able to mutually go different directions, because if I'm going to have people around me, it's good because we're on the same train together and we're excited, and I want input and I want everyone to feel really empowered. But at the same time, we all have to be like, I'm still going to create the North Star. And I need to make sure that we're all going in that direction together, and everyone gets to bring in their creative influence to that. And so in that particular case, we went separate ways. I also recently removed my board. It became very clear to me that we weren't aligned anymore. They were phenomenal for where we were. And then I had to make some changes, and I had to do some things that ruffled a lot of feathers and upset a lot of people. And I had to stand firm in those decisions because I knew it was best for the business and best for what I needed to best lead the company. But it was not a fun process. That was a huge test for me in my self-advocacy, because I had to, and I think a lot of women can relate to this, I had to choose me first and not worry about whose feelings I was going to hurt, and all the people that might get upset along the way, or all the naysayers, or all the conversations that might happen afterwards. And I had to go, but I know this is the best thing for the business and the best thing for me to support me in leading this company. And those are really hard things, I think, for most women, is what's best for me. And I think, and I'd be curious to hear your thoughts, rarely do we choose the what's best for me.
To your point about rarely do we choose the what's best for me, I wonder if that stems from, other maybe childhood or preconceived notions. When I think about the what's best for me, sometimes I kind of table it because I'm worried about the confrontation that's going to come with it. Yeah. And I wonder, is that something that you've ever felt? Have you ever been uncomfortable with confrontation?
Oh, yes. Hate. So I brought it up is because that, I'm such a feeler and I pick up on everything. And the last thing I want to do is be the one everyone's talking poorly about, or the one that hurt someone's feelings, or that somehow they, or they're going to go off and badmouth me, or any of that kind of stuff. I will avoid that for anything. And in the past, I would kind of tread lightly. I grew up in a family where, God forbid, I upset my parents for any reason. So you very much learn how to self-regulate to make sure you don't disrupt anything or anyone. My husband and I never fought. Why? Because I didn't want to disrupt anything. That's not healthy. I just didn't want any of the negative interaction. And so I avoided it completely. So for doing that, what I just recently did with the business, those were huge moments of me going really out of my comfort zone, getting really uncomfortable in standing up for myself, even though I knew it was gonna probably not be received well. And it was not fun. And guess what? Everyone gets over it. Time heals, and everyone goes on about their life. And what happened then is no longer, it's not even on anyone's mind because everybody moves on and life goes on.
I'm hearing an undercurrent of survival tactics that you needed, right, when you were younger, that we all need in some way, shape, or form, right? That you carried into adulthood, but it no longer serves you.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I have my own survival tactics that sometimes I have to think about, like, oh, I don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not in that survival mode. But these are things that we're conditioned with.
Yeah.
And then they become our general. So as you're going through this life, right, and you have decided, okay, I am going to show up, I'm going to deal with the discomfort. I mean, do you ever wonder in the back of your head why it's so hard for us as women to do that and how it seems so seemingly easy and seamless for men?
All the time. And I have to imagine we are feelers as women. It's one of the things that makes us most powerful, right? We're incredibly compassionate. So it's very hard for us. We feel everything and we feel for everyone and we think a lot. We think about not just this is what's right for me, but how is this going to affect everybody else? We're so multidimensional and complex in that way, which also makes us incredible leaders. And it can be our biggest blind spot because we can overthink and try to overprotect. I think what's actually one of the biggest things in the takeaways from this too, that I'm still learning, is that in protecting others, we often hurt them more.
Do you think that's a blind spot in entrepreneurial?
I think it's a blind spot just for women in general, whether it's by not telling your spouse or your partner how you're really feeling. Ultimately, you're hurting them more because you're not being honest.
Well, and this is like recipe for an explosion at some point,
At some
right?
point, it's going to come back.
Yeah.
Right? I waited too long with the CEO to let him go. So I wasted 9 months of his time and my time when I knew day one it was not a match.
You knew on day one.
Okay, maybe day two. But yes, I knew very early on it wasn't a match. Again, not because it wasn't a very, very nice person, but because I knew it wasn't the right partner for me to run the business. And I second guessed myself over and over. What if I do this differently? What if I, give him more control over here? What if I present this information differently? This is what we do as women. And especially if we're intuitive and introspective women, we're going to keep manipulating things to hopefully find a way for something to work. We do it in relationships too. Those are red flags because I don't think ever is there a situation where what you really knew from the beginning played out differently 1 month, 3 months, 1 year, 10 years down the road. What you knew then and felt then will pretty much always play true. And the quote from Maya Angelou that I love, that I think is just so important to always think is, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. And that is so profound. Not because the CEO was a bad person, but I knew he wasn't my partner. And it impacted the business for 9 months. I'm cleaning that up now. Why didn't I just do it in the beginning? Because I was afraid of hurting his feelings. I was afraid of all the other things that might come in. What would my team think? What would this think? So in our ability as women to be very compassionate and thoughtful, we also tend to negate our own needs and feelings and allow the noise to overrule that sometimes.
If you were going to teach a masterclass to entrepreneurs about what to do and what not to do, what would that look like?
I think we're talking about it. I think that self-advocacy, that really looking out for yourself, protecting yourself, obviously legally, if you're going to bring in other parties, other money, surrounding yourself with people who are really on your team, doing your deep work. It is a me job. Really looking at the decisions you're making, how you're showing up, how you're leading, how you are self-advocating, and I think so important to all this, is why am I doing what I'm doing? Meaning, why am I creating this business? That's just foundational. I'm going to throw one more in there. This is what I'm processing right now. We are in a time of, I think, absolute craziness. And as AI and all of these things and social media and all these things, we are bombarded more and more and more and more. I think it is so important that we are all checking in with ourselves of why am I doing what I'm doing? How am I showing up authentically? Is the commitment worth the sacrifice? And how do I do this in a way that is authentically me and not caught up in the craziness of the world that we're living in? The craziness of the pace of how things are happening.
Mm-hmm. The chaos
of it all. The simplicity, and not that we were simple before, but I'll give you a perfect example. It used to be on podcasts, yours not included, where you could just show up, and I would show up in jeans and sneakers and a sweater. Now everyone gets dressed to the nines. Like everything is a fashion show. You go to a women's event, it's a fashion show now. You can't just show up and just be in sneakers because you wanted to be comfortable. Like everything is a presentation. Social media is a presentation. Everyone's on a GLP-1 now and has lost half their body weight. It's this thing that we're on, this hamster wheel that we're on, is so intense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's showing up more and more for us and how we, like what's expected of us. And as women, the pressure we put on ourselves to keep up with it. So what I would put back for women and entrepreneurs is really being clear, why am I here? Why am I doing what I'm doing? What is the impact I want to make in the world? And how do I do it in a way that feels good for me? And doing the constant check-ins. Does this feel good? We're going to be pushed. It's going to be challenging. It's not always going to be easy. Most times are not. But there's a difference between being challenged and being out of alignment. And I think that is what is so important for any woman and any entrepreneurial, and I'll actually say in your relationships, your personal relationships, and also in your business, is those constant check-ins. How is this working for me?
When you're feeling out of alignment, like what do you do to get yourself back on track? Tactical thing. And the reason I'm asking you is I think it's helpful to listeners to hear what is your secret sauce. Mm-hmm. Because you seem very in tune with yourself.
Yeah.
And your why, honestly.
So everything that I just talked about in this pace of life that we're in and the pressure, and I don't think it's just me, that women feel in the expectations of us to be thin and beautiful and young and anti-aging.
Oh, the anti-aging.
The anti-aging. And
so stressful.
And I mean, we couldn't just be. And now there's this, and what we're contributing to the world and all the things that we're doing, and we got to be the best mom. I mean, it was intense before. Where we're at now, and this constant, am I good enough? Am I doing enough? Am I pretty enough? Am I thin enough? Like all of these things. And I think as I'm processing my own feelings around all of this, and I'll layer into it what it takes for a business to be successful now. That is massive, because what worked before doesn't work now. It takes a lot more money than it used to build and scale a business. People are so distracted. They're over it. They're over being sold to. Everyone's an influencer now. Everyone's an influencer now. And as I sit and I'm like, again, my check-ins is like, how is this working for me? Is there another way? What does this need to look like for it to work for me? And so I'm having these conversations with myself. I may not be able to give you the exact answer yet, but I can tell you that what is expected and the pace of how things are does not work for me. And so I'm in this curiosity right now of, I have a beautiful company, Kroma. It has inspired so many people. It helps people every day with making healthy taste, making healthy easy and enjoyable, and with our matchas and our bone broths and our resets and all the things. And I have a whole new collection of products coming out. I love what I do. I love hearing that you love your beauty matcha every morning. I love that people do our reset and all of a sudden they feel better than they've felt maybe ever, or they're going through perimenopause and all of a sudden now they feel good again because their hormones have readjusted. I mean, whatever the stories are, that's what fuels me. In saying that, I'm also looking at what does this need to look like from my own nervous system, from what's important in my life, where I want to spend my time, where I have fun, where I can contribute best. And I think that all of those questions are the things that allow us to figure out how do we build with intention and authenticity. How do we make sure we're surrounded by a team that we're working really well together? Because when you have friction in a team, is very stressful, and it carries through into the business. Understanding where you can shine the most. My efforts to bring in a CEO were the right intentions, just the wrong person. Doesn't mean I won't bring somebody in again, but right now I'm actually enjoying being CEO again because I'm learning and I feel like I'm showing up in a different way. I think that the things that we need to be doing is just asking ourselves that question. And then if not this, then what? Like, what would it need to look like to work for me? And I think the other thing I would say that is two things, and I always have to remind myself of this. We're not doing this alone. And by that, I mean, as women, we tend to get into kind of doing it all ourselves. And we have a world of people who want to help, whether it's your friends, whether it's your colleagues, whether it's advisors, mentors, whoever it is. Reach out for help. And by help, I mean masterminding an idea, and talking through these things with, being in part of a mastermind. We talked about that earlier. Whatever it is, we're not doing this alone. Go do your work, do your questions, your journaling, your quiet time, your dancing, whatever it is, it's going to allow you that space to get in touch with you and what your feelings are. And then make sure you remember you're not alone and that you are surrounded by people who actually want to support and help you process some of these different things. That's a big part of what I'm doing right now for the business, is bringing in all these advocates and supporters and investors and people that have been there for me and reminding myself, I don't have to figure this out on my own. I can put a room of women together and we can have these conversations. There's things that we can do so we don't feel like we're on an island on our own. The other thing that I always have to remind myself is, and this gets a little bit woo-woo, I'm not here alone making these decisions. And whether you believe in God or a higher power or whatever it is, I do have to remind myself to ask for help. And often that comes in the form of being in my quiet space, whether it's in my sauna or I can't be on my phone. I have to be in quiet and I'll ask for help. I'll ask for guidance. I'll have a very specific question. Or before you go to bed at night, ask a question that you've been processing so that during your subconscious, while you're sleeping, you may get some answers. I think it's just having the intuitive sense that you are looking for answers and asking those questions and giving yourself the time and space to find those answers. I think what happens is we go so fast in life and we're going here and we're going there, and we're dressing up for this and going to that and launching this big thing and launching that big thing. But I don't know how often we're actually just checking in with ourselves. And I think it needs to start there.
Have you always known to ask for help, or is that a learned trait?
Absolutely learned.
And what is an example of asking for help that paid off in dividends that you could have never imagined?
There's what I've done and what I'm doing now. When I was raising money for Kroma, it was during COVID, 2020. Nobody was writing checks. VCs weren't writing checks. And I was like, how am I going to raise money for this business? And I had this idea, what if I could bring together really influential women that would really believe in me, the idea, and help me tell the world. And it was sort of this idea that I had. And so I was like, well, whether it's celebrities or really successful businesswomen or just the mom in the community that loves to tell her friends what she loves. And so I came up with this vision, and in doing that, ended up raising money from about 100 women and do have many, many celebrities, from Gwyneth Paltrow to Naomi Watts to Kristen Cavallari to Amy Schumer and the Bostics and all sorts of people. and also incredible moms in the community and amazing businesswomen like Amy Griffin and Candace Nelson from Sprinkles and Greg Renfrew from Beauty Counter. And so the vision that I had, and I didn't know any of these women, by the way, I was able to bring to life because I had this sense that women coming together and supporting one another is really where magic happens. And so me reaching out to not only get them as investors, but also tapping in and asking them for help, support, ideating, help me tell the world, processing different things, asking them for how do I recruit, hiring, like all the, asking them for whatever the needs were. That was a huge, huge aha moment for me to learn that I'm not doing this alone. That was a magical time, and it was a big part of Kroma's success to date. Where I'm at now is remembering to go back to that 5 years later to get that support from not only those women, but other women, as I'm imagining who Kroma is going to be next, as we're evolving as a company. And I have to remind myself, I have a big vision I'm playing with, but what if I also tap into other women and get the input? Or maybe I put all of us in a room and we have a really fun mastermind and we make it like a really fun, engaging experience.
All of it.
All of it. And just remembering that we are so masterful as women, and we're so creative, and we're so incredible in how we think and what we do. But I think we have to remind ourselves that we're not doing this alone, and to really bring in community to support these different visions and or challenges that we're going through.
Community is everything.
It really is.
I've found that it's not just professional too, right? It's so personal. Like you can have an experience professionally and feel so alone, right?
Yeah.
However, there's always someone who has been through, what we're going through that we just don't know about because people aren't necessarily speaking about it. And what's been so fascinating is this evolution and this momentum towards community. I would say in the last 7-8 years, maybe even less than that, where people are really talking about what is hard and realizing that they're not alone.
Totally.
And it's helping them get past the shit, quite frankly, to be able to move on and do great things. And the evolution of that and how you're using it in business is so important because people want to feel good. They want to be able to live their life. And it's not just going through peri and meno and all the other hormonal changes and postpartum. And these things are hard. But having products and a brand that has a mission that believes in all of that and that actually provides not just the mission, but an actual product that can help, supplement that is so huge. But the community is everything. And when people believe in a brand and themselves, there's nothing they can't do. And that's what I'm hearing from you. Yeah. You believe in yourself and your brand, and you have this amazing community that you're building.
So,
and that's
you.
Huge.
It has been. And I think that what's beautiful so much also to reflect back to you with what you just said, I think there's a vulnerability that I think is being celebrated more in our ability to, amidst all this perfection, because that's the part that I'm resisting, like this, just how we keep showing up and we have to be prettier and thinner and the outfits and the whole thing. I'm resisting that. But behind all of that is also this beautiful vulnerability. And I think how women are supporting each other in community, one-on-one, whatever it looks like, in, God, this is hard. And being able to say, I don't know how to keep up with this, or I don't know how to do this, or I need help with this. I think, and I'm so curious if you see the same, I think we are becoming more authentic in that way. I think there's a facade of the other that's distracting right now, and I think hopefully it'll settle out. But I think the other side of it is I think that women are showing up for each other more so than ever.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I think the facade is being exposed. And I think that people who are not showing up authentic are being revealed. You can't just talk the talk anymore. It used to be, I remember in PR, fake it till you make it, right? And although there may be some truth and, pretending to be confident when you walk into a room and doing what you need to do, that only takes you so far. You actually have to walk the walk in order to get to the next phase, right? Otherwise, you know, you might be able
even in
to
the messiness of it.
Yes.
Right? Like within the messiness is the magic, actually. And really seeing all of those things that go wrong, the curveballs, the, oh my God, I can't believe I'm dealing with this. There's so much magic in that. I don't want to live in it all the time. But when we can see those moments as opportunities for reflection, as teachers that are guiding us maybe in a different way, or just to make sure that we want to affirm the path that we're on. I just think that there's so much good in the vulnerabilities that we're starting to share. I'd love to see more of it, but I think it's really, I think we've come a long way. And I think women really are showing up for each other in a way that is just so powerful and profound.
Agreed. And as you mentioned, there's so much magic in the messiness in a way that is becoming more of a norm. I think people realize that it's really hard to be a Jill of all trades. And if you are a Jill of all trades, you're failing somewhere.
Yep.
Like you don't have to. You don't have to be the Jill of all trades anymore. And like, I mean, this is a personal thing that I'm also projecting as we speak, right? I'm going to be honest. I am talking it through as I speak. I feel like we all go through our experiences in life and they are hard, and we've never navigated them before. So it's a first, right? And so when you can find a community that has been through, or if it hasn't been talked about, try to get to a place where you can, you know, put yourself out there enough to find someone. Having the release of being seen creates an incredible runway to move past it and just like help others and help yourself at the same time. I've found just an incredible experience and growth through community, quite frankly.
Absolutely. And I think there's so many options now, which is so great. I mean, there's so many incredible women that have created communities for women, and there's something for everyone.
Yes.
And one of the things I want to say with that is not all communities are equal, meaning that just as we've been talking about intuition, listen to your intuition if you feel like it's the right community for you. Because there's amazing women's groups out there. I've entertained many of them, all great women, but different ones were like, this is a yes, and this is a, I don't think so. Not for any particular reason, except that it just didn't feel like a home for me. But the places that were a yes, I will never miss a meeting. I'll never miss an event. I'll never miss an opportunity to gather. You know the difference.
Absolutely. And sometimes when you want something to work and it doesn't necessarily work, I think there is some magic in finding a way in which to have made it work. Like maybe the organization isn't the right fit, but maybe you got to meet people through that organization.
Totally.
For example, I love that I got to meet you. There are other groups that I have been a part of that served me for a time and a place. And even those organizations, they don't exist anymore because they stopped becoming and helping what they needed to do for the very founders that founded them, right? And it's life is not stagnant. It's always constantly evolving. And like you mentioned about your board changes from time to time based on how the business grows, right?
Yeah. And how it grows, and just what my needs are, where they're at, whether or not it feels like they're on the same, supporting you in the way that they had. All the things we talked about earlier.
So you have your own business. You have Kroma. It's your baby. It's your business. Do you want to continue to keep the amount of control that you have, or the involvement that you have, to maintain the level of control so that it continues to be nimble and address the needs that you're seeing the public and the community?
Like I said, I love what I do. I love the stage I'm in right now, just stepping back in as CEO. And I feel like I'm being challenged in new ways. And that I love. There will come a time in the not so distant future I will entertain again bringing in some sort of partner to run the day-to-day. I don't know that it'll be a CEO next time, probably more of a president. Might even be a chief of staff, because there are a lot of things that I can't do for the business because I'm in the day-to-day. And so it's where I need to be right now with an entirely new team and some of the different transitions that we've been going through. But there will become a time, probably in the next 6 to 9 months, where I'll bring someone else in to really run the team in the day-to-day, because there's a lot of things that I want to do, can't wait to do, I think will be huge impact for the business. And it's really around women and supporting women in this sort of over 40 chapter. And I think it's a really precious time for women. And I have a lot I want to say and contribute, both from a Kroma standpoint and food and what do I eat and what do I do because my body's changing and all the things that go with those hormonal changes. And then just who am I now in this next chapter? I cannot wait to go lean big into that. And I have some really exciting big visions with that. And that will happen. And I'll be very intentional about who I bring in to partner with me so that we can be a team to really give Kroma what it needs, but also use me to go do the things that also I love, that light me up, again, questioning, coming into how's this working for me, that are part of my next chapter of how I can contribute and have impact in the world. And the two can coexist beautifully. It's just a matter of kind of when and who to really create that right dynamic so that I can continue to build and bring this vision to life.
I believe in timing too.
100%.
It's so important.
It's so important. And I think we get ourselves in trouble because there was a point in time, and I'll be totally honest, when I had to make the separation with the CEO, I was so frustrated because I was I was supposed to go do this. Mm-hmm. This was supposed to look like this, and it didn't. And I was frustrated. And I felt a little bit for a hot minute, a little bit like a victim of like, this is not what the plan was. And that's life. A lot of times the plan doesn't play out like we thought. And so I had to do sort of my my little inner work time of like, go through the process, feel what I needed to feel, and then how do I come through on the other side and actually really embrace the opportunity that this me stepping back in was giving me in a way that's not only a new perspective, but like a new passion for the business. Because I'm excited about my new team, I'm excited about what we're doing, and I'm excited about where we're going as a company. And I know that right now, this is exactly what I need to do for the business. And my perspective changed so that I didn't feel like what I was giving up, but actually what I was gaining, knowing that the timing would present itself. And I'm going to be very intentional about that, working towards that timing, because I think we need to have those goals. But it's probably a 6 to 12 months where I'll make those changes.
Any idea on what next looks like for you, and if you're sharing it?
Yeah.
And also, if this was a chapter that you were naming, what would it be?
What's next for the business is we'll continue to innovate around, my whole problem I'm trying to solve for is making healthy choices is hard. We're busy. We're running around like crazy people. We don't have time. And
yes.
I don't think most people, and I'll speak women especially, I don't have time to make 3 beautiful meals a day. I honestly don't know anyone that does. So assuming that you don't have time.
I don't know that person either.
If I can make 1 meal a day, that's a win. Huge, right? So what we do is we solve that because people are on Zoom calls, they're running here, there, whether you've got little kids, you're at the park, you're at school, you're at soccer practice, whether you're a businesswoman juggling kids and that, whether you're on wherever you are, we are going so fast. The problem we solve with Kroma is creating these beautiful, high-functioning foods and beverages that are literally powders, kind of throw them in the purse, that you can be fueled and feel good no matter where you are. Even if you're home, stuck on Zoom calls all day. You have foods and beverages that make you feel good, that you actually look forward to. Mm-hmm. That's foundational to what we do. It's something that you get to do, not I have to do. It's something that makes you feel good. You feel the difference. I will continue to innovate with that same premise, with really unique foods and beverages and snacks that keep us fueled. High protein, obviously, we're always looking for more protein. High nutrition, and doesn't feel like a sacrifice. Feels like it's an addition to your life. So there's a lot of innovation coming for that. I will continue to innovate in the cleansing world. I've been innovating cleansing for 20 years, sort of as a kind of changing the game when it was juice cleansing onto culinary food cleansing. Then I moved from that into Kroma and creating this very nutrient-dense cleansing with these functional foods and beverages that were powders because people are busy and they're on the go. And the next generation of what I do will be very hormonal specific and very, very protein forward. And since over 15 million Americans are on GLP-1s. It'll probably have something to do with that in supporting people to make sure that if you are on a GLP-1, you're at least getting the nutrition that you need so that you're not messing yourself up for the future.
Is that the problem you're seeing with GLPs? Is that it's not paired with the right nutrition? Is that why we're seeing skin
100%.
sags and all the other side effects with
100%.
people?
I think that the negligence from the providers, I think is kind of horrifying. I think that it's being passed out as candy. A friend of mine the other day said that she got a GLP-1 in her gift bag at an event.
You're kidding me.
That's where we're at.
That's insane.
It's disgusting. I think GLP-1s can be a great solution. And I've done them. I'm in support of them. I understand them, but I understand them because I understand there's no easy button. There are no quick fixes in anything in life. You still have to do the work. You still need to eat healthy. You still need to move your body. And especially with GLP-1s, you need to make sure you're getting enough protein and fiber and strength training, because the loss of muscle is real, and the impact of that on your overall health for the long term is terrifying if not done.
It sounds like it.
We are in this mass delusional right now that this easy fix that I don't have to eat well, I can eat potato chips and get skinny. And somehow we've lost our minds that this is not how this works. And there will be an impact to this. And it's going to start to show in time.
I'm sure. It feels like the Lester craze. Remember that?
Yeah.
Like, I'm waiting for this other shoe to drop, you know?
It's coming. And the practitioners are not managing their patients. I know, just speaking for myself, I mean, the woman that I got the GLP-1s for, never once did she ask me if I was eating enough protein. Never once did she ask me if I was strength training. Now, granted, I know there's no easy buttons, and those are things I've always done. So I didn't look at a GLP-1 as like, let me get skinny fast.
Yeah.
I was always committed to my health and wellness practices, and even more so with the GLP-1 because it's that much more important. But that same practitioner gave it to my daughter and gave it to her friends. And there was no lab work. There was no like, hey, making sure that not only why are they taking it? Let's just start with that question. To lose 5 pounds?
My understanding is GLPs were created to support people who were obese, who are obese, or have potential
diabetic
issue and are going down the path of or are diabetic. I mean, obesity brings with it so many other health risks to your heart and otherwise. I mean, I can see that. So I'm confused how it's become so and I've seen it. I don't understand how it's become so mainstream. I'm just confused.
I'm very confused. And we've gone backwards now we're in the kind of the Kate Moss, with 80s.
It's not body positivity at all anymore.
Body positivity at all. Everyone is rail thin, and it's just not healthy.
It can't be.
It is not healthy. And there's so much good use for it.
Sure.
The way that we're doing it has really been abused. And it makes me very sad. And it goes back to the conversation we've been having, which is this pressure of perfection will break. And it's going to break. Women cannot. We already had that pressure on ourselves.
Right.
We've just taken it up 100 notches. And it's very tragic right now. I think in what we're doing as women in creating this expectation of just constant better and better and better and younger and thinner and all the things. It's too much.
I mean, I think about it too. I have been to so many 40-year-old birthday parties in the last couple of years, and I'm thinking, I don't look like I'm 40 anymore. Yeah. Like, what do I do to continue to look like I'm closer to that point, right?
Yeah. I
have a younger daughter, like all of these things that you think about, like, or that I think about. And I've had to take a step back and say, you know what? I'm not 40 or 42 anymore. Now I really think, okay, what can I do now to make sure that hormonally I'm going to be the most balanced
and
not be falling apart when I'm in my 50s and beyond, right? Like in terms of my muscle mass. I've started strength training, which is something that I only started doing really in the last year. I've started spending more time and interest in the protein realm. I'd always been a subscriber to a balance of protein, good carbs, and, good fats. And things don't work the same that they do as you age. And that's okay, but there's not enough information and education out there to help support women. I'm sure you know through research, right? Like most research is done on men. All of the suggested nutrition on all of these labels are usually based on a man.
Yeah.
Actually, I have to ask you, on your labels, are they based on women or men?
So it's very much geared towards women.
So you're like research based on women, right? Specifically, like when I look at your nutrition
specifically
label.
for women.
Okay.
Men love them too, but they're for women because
but that's
I
huge.
know what I need.
Yeah.
I create products that I need and then share them with the world.
But do you know how huge that is?
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because so many of the supplements that we are taking are not based on men and women. They're mostly based on men.
Right. Well, the science is antiquated. It's getting better. I think the other good thing is we do have AI. And so one of the things just to share that I have been so encouraged by is the power of being able to use AI for a lot of things, one of which is health. And I'll use it with the caveat that obviously you have to be knowledgeable and you have to be able to kind of check in with some of the things that you get because it's not 100% accurate. But what I will tell you is some of the stuff that I'm going through with my hormones right now, just entering perimenopause. I turned 55 this year and I entered perimenopause probably 6 months ago.
I want your skin
So
regimen.
I'm a little bit, thank you. And I'll come back to that because I haven't always had this skin. The hormone changes and the gut issues that I have been really challenging. And the gut issues have been something for 20 years. I have gone through doctor to doctor to functional doctor and misguided. Now, I love functional doctors over Western medicine any day, right? Sometimes we need both. But where I have really, really, really seen so much encouragement and feeling empowered again with my health is by using AI. Now, I'm doing it because I'm very knowledgeable and, in the wellness space, but I'm able to go real time with AI and get real feedback with AI. And like today, I've got a running conversation with AI. And every day I kind of tell it what's happening because my hormones are changing. So today, first hot flashes this morning, I noticed that my eyelashes are breaking, right? I noticed that my eyebrows are thinning. So and I put on weight. So I've got more fluid retention today. I can give AI that information and it can help me understand what is going on in a kind of building together what's happening with both my gut, what's happening with my hormones. And it puts protocols together for me that no doctor will ever be able to do. I can come to it with products and say, given my situation, would this be a good product for me to take? And it'll tell me, yes, but not now because we need to heal these things first. What doctor is going to be able to do that? Now, I do have to, again, use the caveat that it's not the holy grail, but I feel more supported and more empowered with my health right now as I'm in transition, and that I really have kind of the self-advocacy, if you will, that I'm taking health into my own hands, which I always have, and I'm taking the inputs from the doctors, still seeing a doctor, but realizing I can get support through AI and it's only going to get better, that we are building a real model for my health that I feel like I felt helpless for a while. I don't feel helpless anymore. And I can get here's what might be going on. We should probably flag this and get tested on these things because this has been going on for a while. AI is going to give me that. What doctor can you call and get that?
So
what
just
platform
something are you using?
Claude.
Yeah,
it's incredible. It put a whole gut protocol for me together that I've been starting kind of the precursor, but knowing I was traveling, I couldn't go all in. But when I get home on Easter, the next day I'll start a 6-month protocol that's very intense and it's very specific. I have seen doctors and doctors and doctors. No one gave me this level of support. And it's taking in, again, all the inputs and understandings that I have on health. And so there's a lot of interaction happening for me to get to sort of the plan that I feel really good, really confident about.
You already know so much of this information personally, right? You have the experience, you understand nutrition and wellness. So what would you say to the average person who is looking to AI to guide them insofar as their health? Because that feels maybe a little bit scary because you know not just yourself, but you know a lot about nutrition. Okay.
So I uploaded everything to Claude. My gut labs, all of my very, very comprehensive labs, whether you're using Function Health, whether you're working with Parsley Health, whether you're working with whoever you're working with, make sure you're getting labs done every 6 months. Make sure that you're getting very, very, very comprehensive labs, not just the basic that Western medicine does. Go out, ask AI which comprehensive labs you should do, depending on your age, whatever your situation might be. It'll tell you exactly what you should get tested for. Upload all of those labs to AI, for starters. Now it has baseline. We're not being hypothetical. It actually has data to work with. I'm getting blood work done tomorrow. As soon as we get those back, it'll put those up as well. I'm constantly feeding it the information, both what am I feeling, what am I experiencing, as well as actual lab work that they're not guessing. They're really understanding. And if you're not working with a functional doctor, I would encourage you to do that, and or using AI to understand the kind of labs you should take, not only what you should be tested for, but if you have any kind of potential gut issues, the kind of gut tests you should do, cortisol, if you've been under a lot of stress, the cortisol tests. Like there's so many things we can test for now, heavy metals and toxins, mold, all those things. The more you know, the more you can self-advocate. So I'm a huge fan of really getting your lab works done, but then take that and put it into AI.
I'm seeing an opportunity for your business, and I'm so curious to know if you have any designs or plans to somehow couple your nutrition with a functional doctor and AI to create a system that will empower others.
I love that. And there is this much bigger thing that I'm working towards that will launch next year.
Excited.
That's very geared towards women going through hormonal changes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So as we talk about all of the different things, how has your experience throughout business, so personally and professionally, how has that impacted you as a mother? Because I never asked you this question, and I've been meaning, and your daughter works with you, I think one of them.
She does. Yeah. So I have 3 kids. They're 21, 22, and 28. My daughter's been working with me since she was 13.
Oh, wow. She really knows the business.
So she started beaming with me. She worked in the cafes. She was a manager of one of the cafes in LA. She's been doing this with me for a long time. We're best friends. We have an apartment here together in Tribeca. I live in California, but coming back and forth. We're always together. That has been amazing. How it's impacted me as a mom is it was really hard. And I, shared earlier that I was going through divorce, 3 little kids, no money, starting my first wellness company, Beaming. And I think about, there's a lot that I missed with my kids. There's a lot of games I missed, a lot of plays at school I missed. I was living in 2 cities. When I didn't have the kids, I was up in LA. I was going back and forth, building Beaming at the time. And there's a lot that I missed, and I can't get that time back. And I think it's not talked about enough in the sacrifices we make as entrepreneurs, and the sacrifices we make to our nervous system, the sacrifices, in my case, being single, I didn't have the time to go out and date or really put that time into my personal that I wanted for me, because the business took priority and the kids took priority. There's so many sacrifices. I can't get back the time with the kids. And as much as I was a very present mom and I did the best that I could, I had no money, so I had to work. It wasn't a luxury. I also loved my work and I loved the impact, so I didn't want to sacrifice that either. So my kids got to see also what it meant for mom to choose me and not feel guilty about it. Now, the not feel guilty about it's not necessarily true, because I did feel guilty. But I also knew that my soul also needed to, and it still does, because it loves to create, it loves to have impact. And so I knew for me, I couldn't have been a stay-at-home mom and done a great job. But I do think that there are things that I cannot get back that I wish I had done different. in my ability to show up for my kids and be there more or be more present because I was at a soccer game or a football game and I was on my phone because I was working at the same time as at the game. I wish if I could do it differently, I could have just been at the game and taken the 2 hours and just been there. But I didn't have sort of that understanding and how fast life goes at the time. I can forgive myself for it, but I can't get the time back.
But it doesn't feel like you had that option and that luxury.
I would have done differently is, again, I would have shown up at the games and not been on my phone and trying to multitask.
Could you have done that and not sacrifice
I think at
something?
the time it felt like I couldn't.
Okay.
But I think sometimes we make things more urgent than maybe they are. And I think that there's an opportunity to, again, look at where you're putting your time. And I'm a huge proponent of, really taking care of you first. I think that's a really hard thing for women. So for me, even with running a business, even with 3 little kids, health was always important to me. So exercise and moving my body was critical for my mind, critical for my energy, critical for just keeping myself sane, right? So that was a non-negotiable for me. And I know people always say they don't have time. We have time for what we make time for. We may have time for the things that matter to us. So if your children matter to you, if health and wellness matter to you, then make that time. And I could have done a better job of compartmentalizing that. I did fall under the pressure of running a business and feeling like I had to be on all the time. And I think that that's something as entrepreneurs and as women, we can get swept up in feeling like we have to show up for everything fully. And when we do that, we actually don't show up well for anything.
Or ourselves.
Definitely not ourselves. So I would have done that differently. And I think, again, I can't take that time back. I have an amazing relationship with my kids and very, very open dialogue about all these things and not afraid to say, I wish I could have shown up differently. I wish that when my son was 4 years old and said, Mom, will you play Legos, that I could have done that more. And I probably could have, but at the time I felt like I couldn't. And I think that's the piece that I wish I could have done differently. But at the same time, I guess now I get to show up for them fully in a way that they know how much I love them.
Like getting weepy over here. It's beautiful. So what's the legacy that you would like to leave behind, both personally and professionally?
Personally, that I loved big and boldly. I'm in love really for the first time ever now. And now I get emotional and get to be loved in a way that I never have. And that's just like everything that I ever wanted. And the work that I've done has led me to calling in my king and finally having a partner in life. And I'm very grateful for that. And I never lost hope that that existed for me. So I do get to love big and boldly now. And for my personal, it's really, I think, hopefully the legacy that my kids know that I love them so much and that the sacrifices I made, they know were for them and for us, and that I really did do the best that I could. And my kids look up to me, and all 3 of them wrote in their senior thesis how much they respect me and how they saw me working hard and what I sacrificed for them, but at the same time, like the inspiration I brought to them about going after your dreams.
It has to make you feel so good.
So good. Especially when you carry the guilt that you weren't there and they look at me and just think, Mom, you did it. Look at what you did and you loved us. Like you did it all.
That's the most important.
Yeah.
Lisa, thank you so much for sharing with me today and so deeply and profoundly.
Thank you. We both got to leave in tears.
I know, right?
I guess it's a sign of a good conversation.
It's really beautiful. Thank you. Do you have any parting words for our guests?
Thank you for the work that you're doing and helping to share people's stories.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.